Greater Good Radio. Connect, learn, heal, and grow.
My younger daughter, that one is like my twin. We're similar personalities. We're always smiling. We're more positive, more happy type people, very much people type people. But for her, I think the biggest life-changing event is, I coached them playing soccer from when she was 4 years old, all the way until she graduated. But in 2017, we went to a soccer tournament in Phoenix, and in a game, she was absolutely drilled by a girl on a dirty play. She cracked her head.
Like a tackled kind?
The ball was already out of bounds, so she was just going to go to pick up the ball, and the girl just ran and just blasted her. So she fell and whiplashed back, hitting her head. Immediately, we knew, the training staff said, you got to take her to the hospital as soon as possible. So we did, and she had a very bad concussion. Then we flew back, after a couple of days, and she got worse. So this was in March of 2017, her freshman year of high school. She missed the remainder of that school year and the first 6 months of the next school year. She had to slowly be worked back into school with accommodation. She couldn't function. It was just, everything was blurry, constant headaches, couldn't concentrate, lost her cognitive abilities. We saw 14 doctors. It was very scary because you never know if it's going to come back. So they kept going from doctor to doctor to doctor. Eventually it came back, but that experience for her, again, built a sense of resiliency. Even if you're cloudy, you know what's going on. So how come I cannot read anymore? How come I cannot figure out this simple math problem anymore? So you start to really question yourself. And then to slowly come back from that, built a sense of, again, resilience that has turned her into the person that she is today. So now she'll tackle anything. Like I said, she's a big personality. She'll go as far as her personality will take her. And that's just how she wants it.
So did she have to redo the freshman year?
She did not have to redo the freshman year. They made the decision at the time that, her grades were so good that she was going to be okay, even if she couldn't do what was required for the last semester. The last quarter. So they passed her. The first half of her sophomore year, though, it was a whole different ballgame because it was all kinds of accommodations. So she wasn't doing necessarily the same things that everyone else was doing for that first semester. She had to do different things.
What year was that?
That was 2017.
Oh, so that's before COVID then.
It was before COVID. So she had to go to school part-time. She had to do some things after school. Certain things were waived that weren't really critical to the 4 years.
How was that for you and your wife going through something like that?
Oh, it was traumatic. I'm sure there are a lot of people that go through way worse things with their kids, but just not knowing or feeling that sense of defenseless, or just uselessness that you cannot really do anything.
It's like a hopeless, helpless.
Yeah, it felt very much that way. So I spent a lot of time with her because that whole time that she wasn't able to go to school, she'd come to work with me. So I had a cot in my office and she just would lie there.
She have headaches and all that?
She did. Still to this day, she has headaches. But slowly, once they started to address some of the physical issues, the whiplash part, they were treating her just for a concussion, but she also had whiplash injuries that once they started to treat that, it became much better. And then I have a chiropractor friend out in Wahiawa, and then he's a big believer in kinesiology tape. He knows the guy from Japan who created the kinesiology tape. And he said, let me try something with her because she had no sense of balance. She was always wobbling. So we went to him, and then he had her just lift up one leg, and she's all over the place. And then he taped her up. And then he said, do it again. And she immediately could do it. And it seemed as if that was the beginning of the nerves reconnecting to the brain that allowed her to not only get her balance back, but get all of her cognitive abilities back.
And how is it now?
She's fine. So from that point till, it took about 2 months and she was back playing soccer again, reluctantly
but
for my wife.
You kind of head the ball and stuff.
We wouldn't
stay away from
we
that,
wouldn't
right?
let her. We wouldn't let her head the ball as much as possible. And the fact that I was her coach, I could really police her as much as possible.
You coached at Kamehameha?
Well, she didn't play at Kamehameha because once she had that injury, we didn't want her playing outside, because soccer at Kamehameha is almost like volleyball at Kamehameha. It's super ultra competitive, and we didn't want to put her in an environment where she can't tell the coach, I'm not using my head. I'm not going to head the ball. They'd be like, well, you cut anyway. So she never went back to playing at Kamehameha.
That's a good move.
Yeah. So it was we just did it on the side, and then at club soccer where I could police it. And if she tried to use her head, I would just take her out of the game. and then, go from there. But fortunately, she seems to have all of her cognitive abilities, but now in the age of CTE, you just wonder, eventually we try to do everything we can, and she tries to do everything she can to keep her brain.
So what was the one memory from that time period for you personally that was like most meaningful for you, where you really learned about yourself?
I think it was just seeing what she was going through, and being like, man, because that one also has extreme allergies. So she's allergic to peanuts, she's allergic to
Oh.
shellfish, so we've been at the emergency room a number of times.
So at any point you're like, you don't know if she's gonna just collapse and that's it, kind of almost, right?
Well,
Like,
with that, yeah, because her
yeah,
allergies are severe. So
allergies,
when
you got
it
a head
reacts
thing.
like that, you got to go straight. You got to have use the EpiPen, or you got to go straight to the hospital. We never use the EpiPen because if you use the EpiPen, you got to go hospital anyway. So instead, we just went straight to the hospital every time, and then they would give her the epinephrine there, and then they'd be able to monitor her. So she's always dealt with a lot of things from a young age, and I think that helped prepare her for when the concussion came. But that whole experience, again, just seeing the suffering and not being able to do anything and not knowing what to do. Like when they have a cold or the flu, you kind of know that this is going to get better. You kind of know what steps you need to do. But with that, it was completely, there was nothing that we could do that we understood. So that's why we kept taking her to doctor, to doctor, to doctor to try to find the right way. But that was definitely the hardest challenge for my wife and I, was seeing her suffering like that and not be able to help her and just kind of waiting it through. And it took, everybody would say, oh, the concussion, a couple weeks from now, she should be back. And then it just got worse and worse. And then you start to worry, what's going on here? Why is it getting worse? Why isn't it getting better? I've always been a family first person, but going through that and having her with me at work, definitely family was a priority, and making sure that we did everything that we could to take care of her whenever she needed it. It was always the priority. And that just kind of reinforced that.
Were you the GM at that time?
Yeah, I was the GM and the head of marketing, but that was before COVID. So you're kind of not working from home.
Yeah.
If this had happened, like now or in the last 3 years, it'd be a little bit less of a transition. I could do a lot of my work from home and then kind of go from there.
Well,
but it wasn't.
The technology wasn't even really there back
No,
then, right?
it really
Yeah.
wasn't. So she had to come with me to work, and she had to stay there all day, just lying there on a cot. And then we'd slowly start to do the work that they wanted her to introduce.
Did
So
that affect your work much, or
I don't
what?
see how it couldn't.
Yeah, how you do with that? Because other people, if they have stuff going on, I mean, I don't see how you hide it.
No, but I think that the good part about our work environment is that they're very understanding. So we have kids all around all the time. In today's day and age, some people can't afford babysitters, so they bring their kid to school. And if they're on our admin team where they have an office, we encourage that. So there was really no problem in that. But I think where it stepped in or came into play was all the doctor's appointments, so organizing meetings that I would handle with my team or with the executive team. Sometimes they'd have to be flexible to accommodate my schedule, but no one really questioned that. And I would always get my work done. So it never impacted my ability to do my job. It just may have been done over a longer period of time or a little bit differently, not traditional from, 8 to 4.
If you resonate with Greater Good Radio, please join our community at www.greatergoodradio.com, where you can get access to exclusive content and offerings. Hope to see you soon.